Welcome to the Relative Dimension, a Shadowrun community podcast. In case you missed our live stream of the end of the year Podcasters Roundup, here is that recording. I hope you enjoy.
All right, hello everybody. We are here, and we welcome to the 2017 Shadowrun Podcasters Content Creator Year-End Wrap-Up in Review Wrap-Up. I feel like we've been doing this for many years, and we don't have an official name for what this thing we do every year is actually called.
End of the year wrap-up.
At one point, it was called the end of the year multicast, and then now it was like a wrap up, and then it was like a retrospective.
Yeah, first one ever was Tinner's idea.
Yes, and
we've been
that's exactly
keeping it going ever since.
Yeah, we're glad to keep the tradition alive. It's a thing we like to do every year. Get as many podcasters who do stuff with Shadowrun, or just content creators. Because when I began, I wasn't a podcaster. I was just on YouTube, and just get content creators together to talk about Shadowrun and what they've been doing and what's coming up. So let me start by going ahead and going along here. We've got a whole group of people here, and I'm actually really pleased to see several of us, of the people here who, or at least a few who haven't ever been before. So that's really exciting. And let's start. I'll go around, and to my right, if you're watching live, it'll make sense. I'll go clockwise. And those of you listening at home on the podcast, from whoever posted this that you're listening to it with, you don't know what I'm talking about. But Oz is sitting right next to me on the stream, and Oz of Join the Anarchy, the show on Twitch. Say hi, Oz.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, and I hope you are as well.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
First one.
Yes, Oz for the first time. I can hardly believe it. You came into our lives full force. So it seems like you've been around forever. Then Mr. I don't know where I'm going with that. Mr. Johnson is sitting next to Oz, and of the Arcology podcast. Who doesn't know who Mr. Johnson is? Say hi, Mr. Johnson.
Hi, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Somebody had to do it.
I wanted that joke so bad.
Sorry, I put you at the end. Next up is Wolf of Deniable Assets. Also new here this year, talking to us on this particular show that we do. Say hello.
Oh, Johners, glad to be here.
Yes, glad to have you. And going again clockwise, so we're going to come up back around. Next is Chris of Crit Squad fame. How's it going, Chris?
Fame. Doing good.
Well, in at least in our little circle, you guys have also exploded onto the scene. Nobody can stop talking about Crit Squad. I feel like it's good.
I still don't know what to do with that information except this.
Yeah, smiling.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's all you got to do.
Appropriate response. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Next to him, again for the first time. I think you weren't here last year, Joe. Were you?
No, I was not.
So Joe, oh yeah, I saw in Discord earlier you said you've been trying to crash this party for years now, right?
Yes, I have been.
And Joe,
Bouncers keep...
yeah,
Did you ever ask?
I think mostly it was timing issues.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah,
because you were totally welcome.
Joe almost couldn't even make it tonight, so I believe it. Joe of Relative Dimension, the Relative Dimension podcast, the actual play. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Going well.
That's good to hear. And next to him, everybody's favorite crow shaman and spreader of information, Opti of the Neo-Anarchist podcast. How's it going, Opti?
What's up, players? I'm doing well. I'm doing excellent. So good.
I'm so glad to hear it. And finally, last and definitely least, is Damien of the Violent Life podcast. Damien, I don't care. Let's move on.
My favorite thing about this whole group is the love.
Yeah. Just kidding.
what I
How's
have
it
for
going,
Bobby.
Damien? How are you doing up there in the great white north?
It's great. I'm happy to be here. This is my third year of doing this now.
Cool.
So,
Glad.
I feel like a veteran.
See, if we let Damien in, we would have let anyone.
Anyone, literally anyone, can do this.
Yeah, yeah, this is my third time doing it as well, and it's fun. We enjoy doing this every year.
Funny, I was gonna say, this is actually a really small subsection of like everybody that we could have potentially gotten on here.
Well, I'm very happy, but surprised that we got this many people on, because we this year the end of the year snuck up on us quite a bit. We've been so busy, and I think it was Opti who messaged some of us and said, "Oh, hey, it's like almost the end of the year. Are we going to do that end of the year thing?"
Oh God, yeah.
And we were like, "Oh, we should probably do that." And then I said, "I've got to go on vacation," and I forgot to ask somebody else to plan it. So I came back from vacation like yesterday, and I was like, "So you guys are finished planning this, right?"
I think this is the second year in a row that I didn't have to really do anything to make this happen.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
Last year I took over forcefully, like I tend to do. And things have been going poorly ever since.
Over. And what it really means is that, like, me and Cliff were like, "Yeah, you want to put all the work in? Go right ahead."
Takeover.
I'm happy to let Bobby do all the intros and things like that. All I get to do is talk. That works with my schedule just fine.
Right. Exactly. But I, being a control freak, I was happy to do it. Well, I wouldn't say happy, but it, you know.
He has a psychological need
Yeah.
to make it happen.
A compulsion to do it. Yes.
Exactly.
It's negative quality.
Right. But enough talk about me, and let's talk about the whole reason we're here is to, in part at least, to look back on some stuff, talk about Shadowrun and look back on this year in Shadowrun and this year in our the stuff we worked on, but Shadowrun in general. And I want to talk about what we've seen in like product releases in 2017. Last year, in 2016, I remember we talked about this. There's a ton of stuff coming out, and this year there hasn't been quite as much, but definitely some big ones. Back in May, we got Forbidden Arcana, which was
Has that been that long ago?
yeah, actually, it really has, and that was big. Like, do you remember everybody was really mad because it was another Magic source book, right?
If you mean everybody, if you mean Reddit, then yes. But
Right.
everybody else who wasn't Reddit was like, "This book is rad."
Yeah,
It was a really awesome book. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked it a lot.
it was definitely
Go ahead.
just definitely a good addition to the 5th edition Splat books. Lots of great material to mine from that. I'm still getting good stuff out of it.
Was it the first time that we in Shadowrun's like edition history, in Shadowrun's history, that in one edition we've gotten two source books that relate to like one area, like two Magic source books? Is that the first time that that's happened?
I don't even think so.
No,
No idea.
I have no idea either. So I was curious.
I mean, yes, I do feel for some of the people like why don't we have a Technomancer book yet?
Sure.
But
And that's fair,
but
but, like, I
awesome
feel like-
stuff. I'm happy with what we have so far. You know,
I feel like by the time that all of the stuff is released, like there will be a pretty decent balance. But right now it seems like there's just more for Magic. And to be honest with you, that's because people really like Magic stuff. Like it's the kind of spooky, cool stuff they really like.
There have been a lot of people.
I'm an apologist now. I need to shut up.
There are a lot of
I've been
people
working
who've
for the
been-
man too long.
A lot of people have been complaining, and I tend to lean towards this thought as well, that we're getting a little Magic heavy in Shadowrun, and we need to take a break, take a breather, you know.
Can I tell you now? Can I tell you that that's actually being fixed? Like that's actually 100% being addressed, and I think everybody will be happy the next 4 releases.
That's great. I know a lot of people will be happy about that. I'm ready. I love
that was
Magic.
Generic enough that I don't think I'm going to hold for that.
Yeah, we've heard as much, at least on the Sixth World podcast. Some people that we talked to have been saying similar things, so I'm excited for that. We should talk more about that when we talk about what's coming. Maybe not specifics, since you're afraid of getting in trouble, but
Afraid is such a strong word.
In July we got the complete Trog. That was
Not a Magic book.
no, he said with disdain. No, it was not a Magic book.
honestly, yeah, that one has some of the best published writing work that someone that I'm married to has ever written.
He's not biased at all.
I am somewhat biased, but also I think objectively really good stuff.
There was
that
some
she
really
has in
good
there.
writing in that book, and
And it's not just her that did awesome stuff in that book, but bias.
there was some really really good stuff in that book. It was quite controversial. It was quite controversial, that book, wasn't it?
Was it? I mean, like initially it was. I think before
I
it came
think
out,
some
it was.
people kind of wanted it to be.
Can I peel? Can I
don't
peel behind the curtain just a little bit? Like there was a little bit of a staged walkout for some freelancers who didn't think that it was going to go a good. We thought that it was just going to be too
On the nose.
We didn't trust that it was going to be handled well, and we didn't want any part of it.
Yeah, and Courtney
But-
was like, "Well, I'll just put in a thing for the contract, and put in a proposal for the parts I want to do, and see what happens." And it
Right.
Yeah, but it ended up
she
being
had fun
really
doing her
good.
part of the book.
Yeah, it ended up being really good, and so I'm glad
But
for that.
With Jason Hardy at the helm on something like that, I mean, I kind of expected it to. I mean, granted, yeah, there's other issues with editing and that sort of thing, but the kind of direct that would make that book awful, I don't think is going to happen on his watch.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess part of that was the discussions that some other freelancers were having. That I was like, if they're going to be on this, I don't want any part of this. That sounds awful. But Courtney was involved in that, and like I think we're all on the same page that we didn't want it to be super racist and awful. But the discussion went like this. It was like, hey, let's call this book The Complete Trog, and we were like, that's like using the N word, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I feel like the assertion, whether true or not, that orcs and trolls are kind of like on purpose representations of minorities in our world. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it just felt really weird to us, and so we started saying like, hey, listen, we need to take a lot of care. And then like I had a couple of freelancers go like, no, we don't need to take care. We can just totally call these trogs and like blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I don't want any part of that. Like the way that you're talking about it, the way that you're like actually, skating close to actual racism yourself as you talk about like. But again, I was so surprised to be completely wrong, and I really love the book. So and Cliff's right. Like, there's some great writing. So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
totally
the book's a
wrong,
great
and I'm totally
culture book.
glad. Yeah, it is.
It's not an everyone must have it kind of splat book, but I think if you're just interested in more detail about the world and exploring that, it definitely just adds more interesting shades of color to the setting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The title is a bit crass. I will admit that.
But I think that was kind of the point, though.
Yeah, but again, it's fake crass. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I think Jason actually does a really good point to your point, Cliff. Like, Jason actually does a really good point of saying this is not an analog. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fantasy deal, and they don't, any similarities to real worlds completely incidental,
Right.
coincidental.
But in November, the most recent source book, anyway, was Dark Terrors, and I think a lot of people are still digesting a lot of the stuff from that book, and that was chock full of some pretty amazing stuff, if I do say so. I think that's been my favorite of the year, and not because of proximity. I don't think. I really think that one was really, really good, full of all the things that go bump in the night in the Shadowrun universe. I like how it hit on so many different terrifying, horrific parts of the Sixth World. Shadim and bug spirits and CFD and a lot of really major advancements in the lore with in relation to CFD and Neonet and stuff like that. So
Yeah, the
and
fall of
you were-
Neonet.
Yeah, and also like criticized for being a magic book, but really wasn't a magic book.
yeah, that criticism doesn't hold a lot of water, I feel like.
I mean, like there's Black Lodge, which is kind of magical, but also just, and then there's like Bug Spirits, which is kind of like I guess magical, but again still not like straight up magic. And then CFD, of course, and then you have Court of Shadow stuff, and then you have Matrix stuff, like Foundation stuff. Then you have ghouls. I mean, you can't really get away from having magic in the Sixth World.
Well, you know what the
Dark
problem
Terrors
with that
doesn't
is I think that problem is when people have an idea in their head and they're cherry picking their evidence, right? So like ghouls, is that a magic thing or not? Is it because HMHVV is an awakened virus. Does that mean that anything you talk about with ghouls is magic? No, I don't think so. So
Yeah, same thing. I mean, if you want to talk about Wuxing, right? Like Wuxing has a lot of magic going on. Is that a magical corporation? No. Like everyone else, have magic.
right,
So,
exactly. Yeah. Hate is gonna hate.
Yeah. So suck that, haters.
But Neo,
I really don't even care. Like I love the haters too.
Yeah, exactly. NeoNet did fall though. That's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal, and another corp rose to take its place.
Well, has it officially risen? I mean, we all see the writing on the wall, but is it?
Yeah, it has. Dark Terrors, I think. What is it?
Spin Global.
Spin Red Global. That's right.
Yeah,
but we still call it Spin Storm. Like
I think cool. they were. It was a little Weasley in the description. It said like, "Oh, right now, it's kind of like holding a seat because who knows what'll happen later." Kind of thing, but like I said, the writing's on the wall and it's pretty obvious. At least that's the way it read to me, and I may have just misinterpreted it.
Well, I guess consider that a spoiler.
I mean, I was talking with Opti about this on the side. I was like, hey, so it reads kind of like Spin Storm or Spin Global was set up. It was supposed to be set up in another book, but then it wasn't.
Oh, you know what? Shoot, yeah, I did. But I guess not, because it actually happened off camera, because what's that book? Street Lethal was supposed to be released before Dark Terrors.
Right.
So Dark Terrors assumes that already happened. So I guess mild spoiler, not really.
It's
anyway,
okay.
Not really, 'cause it already happened. We
Don't
got like
worry.
a glimpse into your...
Nobody listens to these, so.
No. Yeah. Gordon Manger is right. Like it was name dropped in Dark Terrors because they got the golden ticket from JRJ.
Yeah, like I said, it's heavily insinuated, So those are some of the books that have been dropped. But I want to take a second. I'm going to do this a couple of times throughout the show so that we got a lot of people here, and I want to keep things moving. But I want to take an aside and personally, Chris, I've never actually spoken to you before. So,
Hi.
So hello. First of all, my name's Bobby.
Oh, I'm about to run Shadowrun for the first time next year, and I have mainlined all of your videos as a result. I'm still not prepared. I'm just gonna screw it up instead, I think.
That's
Yes,
the way that all of us
That's how
have
it's
done it. Yeah.
Are you running it off camera, or are you guys gonna be doing a little?
Oh,
thing?
good Lord, no! I'm not gonna publish my first Shadowrun game.
Come on.
Absolutely not. No, it's just it's actually, well, it's funny because Austin, Crit Squad's GM, he wants to play Shadowrun, and so every day for the last 4 months he's like, hey, so when are you gonna run Shadowrun, Chris?
Right.
Hey, as long as your players like having a Shadowrun game, they'll overlook the mistakes.
Oh, good.
That's good to know.
They're making the exact same mistakes.
So
Right?
Chris, speaking of Crit Squad, why don't you, for those who might be listening to this on various other podcasts or on the stream live and may not have heard of Crit Squad, tell us about Crit Squad.
Okay, so Crit Squad is like, I don't know, Actual Play Plus or something. I don't know what you'd call it. I'm an audio engineer, and I've done some professional sound design and such, and hearing things like the Arcology and the Adventure Zone, and also wanting to be interested or wanting to get into podcasting, I was like, okay, wouldn't it be cool if we did an actual play, but then we cut it so that it was a little bit more just like an improvised audiobook with like the sound effects and the music and all of that. So that's basically what Crit Squad is we try really hard, stay in character 100% of the time.
Right.
And unless it's like, it still feels, at least to me when I listen to it, it still feels like an actual play, but in terms of like the ratio of character and story to, seeing through the curtain to us, it's probably 90-10. Like you get a glimpse of us as the performers, but we try really hard to do everything as our characters, and we're just kind of trying to explore and see what we can do with a story like that. Like, just get the most broken, inexperienced crappy Shadowrunners we can get, and then see if we can like follow their story.
Right.
With neat sound effects and music, because wow them with special effects, I guess.
So I love that style. That's something that I want to, emulate in a lot of ways in the future. I've always been interested in that kind of thing. I have a couple of questions for you. How long? First of all, when you have a session, when you sit down and play, how long are your sessions?
From load in to tail lights, maybe 6 to 8 hours.
Wow, those are big. How often do you play?
Well, every 4 to 6 weeks usually.
Okay.
Like a session will get us. We've started to because a couple of us have like actual day jobs,
Right.
and so like John, who plays Milligram, he works 9 to 5, and after a while he was like, guys, can we not record literally all day when we do? So we've been trying to record more often, but when we sit down and record, we probably get 2 to 3 episodes per session.
Sure, yeah. And how long does it take? So you're doing the editing then?
So Lindsay, who plays Baldy, she does, and this is new, this started with like episode, I want to say 21, few episodes ago.
Sure.
Lindsay started doing like the dialogue edit, so she goes through and basically cuts the story out of our gameplay.
Okay.
And then I do like the sound design and a polish on that sort of at the same time, and then it gets posted.
And how long would you say, how many hours does it take to cut an episode altogether?
There's probably 12 man hours in each episode.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Combined or
It's
each?
Yeah.
several hours, which is why, like, because I used to do it all myself, and it would take me like 2 full days to do it, and then
Right.
now Lindsay does it, and she's faster at cutting dialogue than I am, so it's probably closer to like 8 total at this point. But
Sure. That's and that's the biggest reason that I haven't gotten into doing that kind of thing. The way I designed my actual plays was I wanted to get as close to that kind of feel that you're talking about as possible, but with as little work as possible, because I have almost no time to do that kind of thing. So I definitely admire the amount of work that's put into those. You guys do a really
Awesome.
great job.
yeah, I think it's worth it. It's just, but it really is. It's like a TV show or something. You're all that sound design, with no picture to it. It's a little easier because we can pick and choose what we do. But yeah, it's time consuming. But at this point, we can't stop doing it. So I'm
Right.
stuck.
You're committed now.
Please stop listening, guys. I need a break. No, that's everybody loves it. We hear people talking about it constantly on. People on the Discord are always like, "Ooh, it's Crit Squad Day."
Yeah. Yeah, and then sometimes I just disappoint all of them.
Right.
You'll learn to
Welcome
love
to
that.
the club.
Yeah.
Disappointing people who like you. Great.
Right. No,
yeah,
ask
yeah.
Opti. You'll get used to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Oh,
crushing
yeah.
guilt will gradually build up.
You use the tears of the fans to make the best product.
It fuels the edit. Yeah, it greases the tears of the fans grease the wheels of production.
Right. So, as far as product releases, those are the big ones. We've also had the rest of season 7 Shadowrun missions was released this year over the course of the whole year. Some other adventures were released, like Lethal Forces. Does anybody really? And this is not meant to be a funny question. This is meant to be a serious question. Does anybody actually pay attention to when the adventures are released?
No, probably not, because they're usually played first at Origins and Gen Con,
Right.
and it's really where most of the initial excitement happens.
Well,
around
there's stuff like Ripping Reality and Lethal Forces. They
them.
are
Oh, you talking about
cons.
those, not the missions? You talking about the adventures?
Yes,
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. I do.
because I feel like I always miss that. That those happened.
Because they're really undersold, like as far as like marketing. Like they get stealth released, which I feel
Right.
like is not like the best strategy.
You can do that if you're Beyonce. You can't do that if you're Shadowrun.
Right. Catalyst is like, hey guys, let's see if we can release this one and see if nobody buys it. They're playing like a little mini game with themselves and
which is sad because one of the ones that got released this year I think it was this year, was False Flag, and I thought that was a really great adventure by R.J. Thomas, and like a lot of really cool stuff happening in Denver, and like like nobody like it's a lot of really really big meta plot stuff that happens, and like nobody talked about it at all because it was not hyped at all, which is like it's too bad. It's a really excellent adventure.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I want to remind a couple of times the chat. If you guys have questions, periodically, I'm going to try to grab your questions. Make sure you precede them with a bunch of question marks so that I can see them easily, and I'll ask questions throughout the show. I noticed that some of my fellow casters here are doing a really good job of insulting me, and thank you, chat room, for defending me. I appreciate that. The Book of the Lost was also released this year. I think that's the last really big one, and all about campaign and adventure hooks related to the tarot deck. That's pretty cool.
I'd love to know if anyone in chat has actually run anything to the Six World Tarot.
Eric Damage is in the chat.
Yeah,
He's the Six World Tarot master.
Yeah.
a community hero, Eric Damage. He had a whole project going. I think I've talked about it before. He had a whole project going back when Gen Con of 2016, when it was first available. They had the limited number of the Gen Con release of the tarot deck, and he got one of those. He was there, and he had this whole project going of trying to uncover all the secrets of all the tarot cards. Pretty lofty project. I think he did a lot of really good stuff with that. That was cool.
I need to buy myself that deck for sure.
The the one that we haven't heard from much today or this evening, Wolf, of Deniable Assets. So let me look at this thing here. So you guys have your, well, first, why don't you tell everybody who might not be familiar with Deniable Assets, tell them a little bit about Deniable Assets.
Well, we're an in-character kind of an advice informational podcast. The original idea behind it was trying to give new runners in character kind of advice for how to, break into the shadows and that sort of thing. And now it's kind of branched into our Tales series, which is just an ongoing story that we tell each season. And we've got a couple more things coming down the pipeline that are going to evolve the show even further.
Yeah, well, tell us about that.
So, Clean, my partner, who cannot be here tonight due to, wage slave things.
We all
he
know
says
about
hi,
that.
everybody. Apologizes for not being here.
Hey.
Hello.
But he has started a blog that he is going to be writing little short stories about all of the different characters, little tidbits about maybe who they are, little stories that involve them. They may or may not involve Wolf and Clean, but, who really knows? That's kind of his baby. And we're also planning on a new series that is going to be similar to our Tales, but might not necessarily involve us as characters, but they will be about, we're hoping 30 minutes in length, and they will be full audio dramas with sound effects, different cast members, different characters, music, the whole 9 yards.
I like the sound of this.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like we get a lot of we're seeing a lot more people diving into that, like fully like audio drama, actual play mixes, and you get some really quality stuff out of that.
I'm excited to see more audio dramas that didn't originate as an actual play. I mean, that was previously a very lonely place for my for my show to be in. So I'm glad to see other people taking it on and trying it out.
Yeah.
Well, and that was one of the original things that Clean and I were talking about whenever we very first started the podcast. Was essentially we thought about making it kind of a 1950s style. You sit in front of the radio and it's the story of the week and that sort of thing. And I thought that was a little bit of a lofty goal to start with, and that's how the regular Deniable Assets show got started. And then as we started kind of taking off a little bit, we started incorporating the Tales episodes, and hell, now they're more popular than our regular episodes.
Right. Well, very cool, very interesting. I'm really excited to see about the blog stuff. I don't get a chance to listen to a lot of different stuff because of the time commitment, but I can certainly be sitting around on my iPad reading stuff. So I'm really interested to see that. That'll be cool. So what else happened? What are some other things that happened this year? Conventions. We had Origins and Gen Con, like every year. I actually got to go to both this year. What did we get? Did we get any kind of releases or anything at Gen Con or Origins or anything that, like we did, like in 2016, I know we got the Tarot, but did we get anything like that?
They usually
The second
have
print of the Tarot.
some book that's releasing at Gen Con and Origins. I don't remember what it was this year.
It was cool to see some of the board game stuff they were doing. I know Dragonfire seems to be going over really well, but I got to see the Sprawl Ops, some of the prototype stuff they had posted there that Dylan Bertolo was working on designing, and picked up a 0 Day and a couple other things. But it's good to see Catalyst doing well in the board game side of things. At least I think they are.
Yeah. The you can't talk about everybody gets angry if you talk about Dragonfire. What is it?
Well, and I gotta say, I do have this sort of like there's the burning coal thing that's been going for a long time of like, where the frag is Sprawl Gangers? What the hell? But,
I never follow the board game stuff very closely. I play it when they come out, but Sprawl Gangers, was that one that they demoed a test of at one point?
We've never even seen enough of a demo, really.
Oh well.
And now that Necromunda's come out again, it's basically like there's really no room for it on the market now again. Just so I think it'll just never happen.
A shame.
I would like it to happen, but it won't. I don't think. That's my prediction. I have no inside information to that effect, and I hope that I'm wrong. I would very like to be wrong. Why did I even start talking about this? It's bumming me out now.
Speaking of, let's talk about something more positive. Speaking of Origins, Chummer Jim asks, who all here is going to be going to Origins, or is it too early to tell? I know, unfortunately, I will not be going to Origins. I'm really bummed about it, but this year I'm only able to pick one, and for a laundry list of, or maybe not a laundry list, but for certain reasons, I've decided to go to Gen Con instead of Origins. But I wish I could go to both, because if I could, I would definitely.
On the other hand, like it or not, I'm going to both.
I really like it
I very much like it.
because that was highlight of 2017 was Damien and Bobby meeting in the flesh and becoming one.
I don't like the sound of that.
There for this, I
don't think I was there for this.
You were asleep.
Stephanie came with me to Origins, and that was really, really amazing. I got to meet Oz for the first time at Origins, and that was really great. But so Chummer Jim Oz was asking, are you going to be going to Origins next year?
I'm going to be doing Gen Con instead.
That's what I had to say. I could only pick one next year.
Goldrack. Well, there's as well.
Well, there is no instead.
I would do both, but that's going to be around the time of my 30th birthday, and I'm going to be doing a big trip to Spain.
Ooh,
so
nice.
I can't.
Welcome.
Why would you schedule that during one of the conventions?
That's what my birthday is.
See,
I think you need to have a talk with your parents.
yeah, sounds to me like poor planning on somebody's part.
I get to see it a couple months or so anyway, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, I know we don't even have to ask you. You go to both every year.
Yeah.
Done.
So I'm going to keep that up, and that's the plan this year too. And I have no intention of ever not going to both.
Yeah, you have fun because you now use Origins is kind of like the family con. You bring your kids and stuff, right?
Yeah, we bring the kids to Origins, and it was a big deal one for my daughter, who the year before she discovered the existence of cosplay, and so we went to the 2 years ago we went to the cosplay contest just to see what people had, and just were blown away by it and had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then planned a costume for her this year, and she ended up taking second place in the kids category.
Yes, that was so awesome. And so
Very cool.
I couldn't be there. I was really bummed about it because I had to play a missions game with Damien. And
Great though.
but I was really excited. It was super cute because you both came.
I dressed up as a security guard, and I went out and looked like I was looking around and freaking out, and made some creepy sounds. And then she snuck out as the Five Nights at Freddy's character, Marionette, and jump scared me, and I screamed really loud and high pitched and fell over.
Yeah,
that was an improvisation I hadn't planned, but it was pretty convincing.
Yeah, it was really cool. She seemed really excited. She came and interrupted our game to tell us that show us her costume and tell us how she did, and that was really cool. That was fun. Wolf, do you go to Origins or Gen Con?
We did go to Gen Con this last year. As it stands right now, I think the plan is to try and do both, but we will have to see.
Did I? Because I do this. I often meet people and don't know it. Did we meet at Gen Con by any chance?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was great to meet you at Gen Con. I think this last year was the first time we met, wasn't it?
Yes.
Or am I
yes,
forgetting a previous? Okay, good.
All right. Well, I feel really bad.
Direct you are, Bobby.
I am.
I'm sure you'd recognize him if you could now.
I'm sure. I usually can. Yeah.
I took the time to hang out and chat with him for a while afterwards, and you just blow him off like. Never mind.
Oh, what?
I mean,
okay.
I wasn't offended until now, Bobby.
Right.
The ruse was effective.
Maybe you noticed how scatterbrained I was while I was there. I'm very
Complex.
I get so anxious around people. But next time make sure you tell me exactly. You make me remember. Because I'll be at Origin, or I won't be at Origin. See, you've got me all flustered now. I'll be at Gen Con. Chris, do you go to either of those?
I have not been, although friends of mine go to Gen Con every year because they live in Indianapolis, and ever since we started doing this show, it has been ever since these many 12 months. I really really want to get as much of Crit Squad as possible out to Gen Con. I don't know if we can do it this year or 2018, but soon.
You guys have got to do it.
Yeah.
I very badly want to. Yeah, no, I'm the world's worst nerd, and I only even heard of Gen Con 4 years ago.
I'm right there with you, actually.
Yeah,
It was my first con 2 years ago, so.
Yeah.
If you're from the Midwest, I mean, I would imagine you have heard of it a lot more. But
Yeah.
out on the West Coast, there you've got all those shiny, giant, fancy Comic-Cons and
Yeah.
big, fancy, crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Michigan, but there's a Renaissance fair there, and that's about it.
Well, if you're from Michigan, that's right next door to the birthplace of role-playing games. You have no excuse.
Mr. Johnson takes back all his apologies for you.
I have been duly chastised.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Well, I hope to meet you at Gen Con sometime, and I hope even more to remember the encounter.
Yeah, well, now that I know that it's on the table for you to just completely forget about, people like me low on the totem pole,
Right.
I don't know, I'll send you away with a signed headshot or something.
Yeah, please.
From the ivory tower, it's hard to see the plebeians.
Right?
Oh gosh, let's change the subject. Joe, I know I've talked to you before. You don't usually get the opportunity, or maybe haven't ever had the opportunity to go to Origins or Gen Con, right?
No, I have not yet.
Do you have any plans
not
to
had
do
the
that?
Opportunity yet. One day, if it's financially in the cards. Probably not this year, but maybe the year after.
It's not cheap.
No.
That's for sure.
Definitely not something that you spur of the moment plan.
Yeah.
That's experience talking.
Have you learned your lesson, Wolf?
Oh yes, we have.
Oh wow. Yeah. What about I know Opti, you weren't able to make it to Origins last year, but you usually go to both, right? Or you try to go to both.
Usually do. Yes. I will be
we
going
missed
to
you
both
so
this
much at
year.
Origins.
Oh, I know. I had last year. I wasn't able to make it, but
The
but I
last
am
gumbo and our Sunday gumbo and everything, we didn't do that either.
hard.
So
Yeah.
sad.
So I'm super looking forward to making it back to Origins again this year. Actually taking Mrs. Opti to Origins this year. This will be her first gaming convention.
Even more bummed I won't make it.
Yeah, I've recently converted her to the gaming side, and so I'm pretty excited about that. And then I'll be hooking up with one of my favorite people, Gordon Manger, and it'll be super much fun.
Yeah, I got to meet Gordon Manger this past year at Origins. I'm bummed I won't get to see him again this next year. I will say that if your reason for going is just to play games, Origins is where it's at.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah. Damien, you've already said, I guess you're going to both, right? So
yeah, both Katie and I are hitting both of them up this year.
Love Katie.
Yes.
What the pros do.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Rusty Zimmerman and his wife are going to be at Origins this year for the first time.
Yeah, I think Rusty and his wife, and you and your wife, and Gordon Manger and me and Vox are all getting a house together for the week. So
Wow.
Yeah. And Gordon Manger is promising to cook and make cocktails and smoke cigars with us. And so, like, I feel like maybe I won't even go to Origins. I'll just stay at the.
you can have like a camera crew and do like a reality show.
It sounds like you'll be too full to be able to even get out of the house.
If Gordon Manger's
That's true most
cooking,
of the time.
if Gordon Manger's cooking, we'll be crashing that. I promise you. Promise you right now.
Damien
They
and
should
Katie,
cut
are
my
you
Spain
guys staying
trip
with us too in the house? Or are we guys other
Yeah,
arrangements?
we'll crash that. I mean, we haven't made any arrangements, so we'll sleep in the bathtub or something. I don't know.
So speaking of things that happened this year, Mr. Johnson, we started a little thing called the Shadowcasters Network this year. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like
Let us team up and start doing some things we wouldn't be able to do if we were just kind of doing our own things.
it's like 3 million Facebook messages a day. Kind of makes it seem like it's been going on a lot longer than
Right?
So long.
That's my fault.
It is 100% Bobby's fault.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Bobby, you mentioned this about your relationship with Oz and stuff, but like I feel like the same way with the Shadowcasters and your group. Like there's something about I don't know, like the way everyone clicks and the way that all of this stuff works together. It makes it feel like it's always been this way.
Yeah. Well, maybe going into business together will force you to do that, and that was the motivation. I needed some friends, so I figured the only way that I could do that was
Just
to get
trap them legally.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Are you legally bound to be my friend?
Yeah.
It says so for the paperwork. Snuck the clause in there.
But no, in all seriousness, that's been a really exciting thing for us this year. We had a whole lead up to it. It was all of us have been working on that since January, like literally the entire year. We've been working on it, making plans for it. We announced it at Origins in 2017. We had like a secret dinner with Oz to see if he would be willing to partner with us in sort of a partnership kind of capacity and work with us on that. And we had a whole fundraiser between Origins and Gen Con. We had a 36-hour streamathon where we streamed for 36 hours straight various content, most of it Shadowrun related, but some other stuff, and that was crazy. And it's been a whirlwind. It's been really fun and way hard. I already had thought it would be hard, but it's been way harder than even I thought it would be. So much work that we all get into, and this, where we are right now, Twitch, has been a big part of that we didn't anticipate would be such a big part of it. But it's been really fun. One big thing that people don't get to hear a lot about, and I think we should talk about it a good bit. In fact, I should take a timestamp here so that we can tell people, hey, we're talking about this, and if you want to learn about Shadowrun Missions Online, the beta that we're working on, this is where you can listen to this episode and go straight to this point, because we've unfortunately been a little quiet about it, But Cliff, we're working on this thing called the Shadowrun Missions Online venue that we're building, right?
Yeah, it's been in closed beta since I guess we launched it post Gen Con. And it's It's had its ups and downs and a learning curve with us arranging this sort of thing, but I think we've got a good system going, and I'm really looking forward to getting that opened up to the general public. I think we're really close, but I feel like saying that is
That was
I feel like I'm
that
writing
was
checks that then Bobby has to cash by programming the website stuff that will make it work.
right. Absolutely. First, I'm going to interrupt for a second.
Hey.
Damien just gifted Gen Tonic subscription. So how nice of
Yay.
you, Damien.
Happy holidays.
That's me.
Yeah.
So nice.
But anyway, yeah. So for those who might be listening to this and hearing about it for the very first time, the Shadowrun Missions Online, the whole goal of that thing is to say. The idea is, I love how Cliff has described it in the past. The
I'm
idea,
sorry, but who's got a microphone pointed at their loud keyboard?
I think it's Opti.
that's Opti.
What? No, it's not. Shut up.
I like how he casually put his. He was like, "I'm not typing." But yeah, the Shadowrun Missions Online thing. The whole idea is that it's imagine going to a place like Origins and Gen Con that we have been talking about, and everybody plays a ton of missions there at the convention there, and if a lot of people can't make it there, they can't get to a convention to play those types of missions in that capacity and everything. So we thought, wouldn't it be a great thing to do to sort of create a venue where official, Catalyst demo team members all the games would be played online, and they would be missions games, and they would be played by demo team members, Catalyst demo team members. They would be official.
The super short elevator pitch is it's a year-round game convention for Shadowrun Missions, but played online.
Exactly. And it would count towards your character could build and develop just by playing missions and whatnot online instead of having to be at a convention. And we wanted to create a venue, a very organized, easy-to-use venue where you could go onto a website and see what games people are offering that, again, are being run by demo team agents. And
I'm
go ahead.
I want to say I'm really excited that one of our the people we've attracted to join as a GM and actually who's helped us out a lot with some of our behind-the-scenes work, Florian. Some people might know as Quatar, or however you would pronounce it on Discord. He's from Europe, and he's willing to run some games. And we have, of course, Francis, whose voice you've heard as Canis, I'm sure. He's running some games. So I love the idea of having more chances for people who are in other non-US friendly time zones having a chance to play some games too online.
And also getting to meet all of those GMs and kind of that community starting to build. So when you take those characters from online to a convention, say if you do, you get to meet all those people that were running games for you online, and you get to keep developing your character with them too.
Yep.
And of course, these are all official Shadowrun missions run by Catalyst demo team agents. So the characters you play, you can take them to a convention or a game store game if you've got one of those nearby that you can attend, like some people do. That
Right.
Not many people I know. And go and take them online and back and forth. It's all just the same system.
Right. And so where we are with that, so people have been asking, we're in the middle of the beta, we're testing some things. We've got a whole system set up. It uses Roll20 as the virtual tabletop, but in sort of just a shared space for everybody just to hang out. The way we use that is mostly for GMs to have an organized way to be able to run games easily. We're testing, in the middle of testing our sign up system online, and that's going well so far. Soon we're going to be moving towards making those tickets official, purchasable tickets and whatnot. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're really excited about it, and it's going a little bit slower than we anticipated. That's why people have been asking a lot about it, and not hearing.
Yeah, and I haven't exactly been talking about it publicly much. We've been communicating to the people who were part of the closed beta, but and another thing is it's part of it is we've had, a lot of the people who were signed up for the beta just weren't signing up for missions, signing up for the sessions. So I think a lot of those were just people who were excited to make it happen and contribute to the fundraiser, but didn't necessarily have the time to be directly involved in helping us test it. So we've actually opened up the beta to anyone who is a Patreon supporter of any of the core shows on the Shadowcasters Network, which is a Six World Podcast, Join the Anarchy, Arcology Podcast, Violent Life, and Neo Anarchist. If you support any of those podcasts via Patreon, you're invited to join the beta. Also, if you subscribe to our Twitch channel, we will invite you to join the beta as well. And that's kind of given some new life to the beta group, and we've gotten more stuff scheduled, and it's brought us closer to being able to say, hey, I think this is working. Maybe we can let more people in on this.
Yeah, very soon we want to move it to an open beta where anybody can help us test it out. And as soon as we're ready to do that, you guys will we'll make tons of public announcements and talk lots about it and stuff like that. So really excited about that. We got started with that. Hopefully, when we're doing this next year, we're going to be talking all about how much of a success they'll launch it. That's really cool.
And if you're interested in joining the beta, all you have to do is back one of the Patreons, or all of them. That'd be fine too.
Right.
Or subscribe to our Twitch channel.
Right. It's just a way for us to sort of gate that, so we don't have. It's an easy way for us to find people. So we talked about conventions that happened this year. We talked about some releases that we get. What about some of the things that we didn't get this year that we were either hoping or expecting to get? First one I think of is Street Lethal. We were supposed to get Street Lethal.
That's true.
You guys familiar with? Is everybody familiar? Or maybe I should just explain it anyway, because people listening might not know. Street Lethal is the source book that is an anticipated source book. It's coming out. It is coming out, and it's supposed to be focused more on like weaponry and security procedures. And I think there's going to be like stuff highlighting different mega corporate security procedures and their security guards. I think we're finally getting like a bunch of different statted guards. Isn't that right, Opti?
I couldn't speak to that, but I do know that for fans of Narcoject, the company, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get more of them than you ever wanted.
I didn't even realize it was a company.
Yeah.
Yep, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always
Even
need one
wonder
Narcoject.
why in the first 3 editions that like you could buy a Narcoject pistol, right? And then all of a sudden you couldn't, and you just had to use Narcoject, like the toxin, right? Well,
Wait, is there like a lore reason for why this happened?
there is now.
That's amazing. I love it.
As far as you're concerned, yes.
So Narcoject has been upping their game, and like they've branched out into other non-lethal weapons, and so we're gonna get all of that.
They're finally making more than the one thing.
Yeah, that was my contribution to Street Lethal. I was like, you know what? I hate gun porn. So how about this instead? How about I write up Narcoject? It was pretty awesome. I had a really good time.
Gentonic, Mr. Johnson, Gentonic asks in the chat, Mr. J, I just started listening to the Patreon pirate campaign. Love it. When do we get a t-shirt that says Chartreuse is hungry?
Oh, that's a good one. We should totally have a Chartreuse t-shirt. We should definitely have more just fun t-shirts up there relating to stuff that's happened in the various actual play campaigns we've done, because I know Carrie has definitely suggested we need a Damn It Cliff t-shirt. And we certainly need some sort of like a default to pistols shirt with Maverick or something, but
yeah,
I'm not a visual artist, so I haven't gotten around to putting anything together.
Yeah, and I just draw stick figures.
We need a No Mercy Percy shirt too.
Oh yes.
That would be a good one. Yeah. We did talk about an idea for what was it, a Geek the Mage sort of shirt, like the general, like the saying, and I sketched up a stick figure idea for that, and we want to do more on the store, but effort.
Yeah, I've got some weird ideas, but like a lot of my attention's been on the Shadowrun Mission stuff, and
yeah,
some other things.
So many projects that we're all involved in, so it's kind of hard to, and then we're constantly trying to just improve them. So it's like it's hard to get to all of the other little, or not little things, but you know what I mean, like the extra outlier stuff that would just, I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Gentonic, thank you for that image.
Also, this is behind the scenes, I guess, but I have a background in graphic design and print design too. So if you guys want to send me your stick figure ideas and stuff, no guarantee I'll get to it any faster than you would, but I might be able to come up with something for stuff like that
Making contacts
down the line. Yeah, this is really just a
Take notes,
networking
players.
session that everyone else is
You
privy
fool,
to.
never volunteer for anything in regards to us.
I figure if I
And
couch
so
it with a
another career-
promise to delay it, yeah.
And
Good-
then
good
indentured
idea.
Servitude begins.
yeah.
Yeah, he never made it out.
One of the other things that we didn't get this year was the Technomancer book.
You'll net. Wait, I thought the topic was things we were expecting in 20.
This is what we didn't get this year. Street
Well,
Lethal.
I do believe that a certain someone who was involved in the pipeline did say that we'd get a Technomancer book most likely by the end of this year. So, and it did not happen.
Whatever. You know what? As much as I like Technomancers, I don't care. Feel
Hey,
the pain
guess
of
what?
riggers. Feel
Hey,
it.
guess what? I'm gonna spoil something here. Ready?
Here we go.
You're never ever gonna get a 5th edition Technomancer book,
Bum, bum, bum.
but you will get an Advanced Matrix with a lot of Technomancer in it.
Yeah.
Ha!
Yeah. Yeah, we did hear that. I know that I spoke to Jason Hardy on the show, and he said we would be getting that, and so that's exciting. That's going to be happening next year. Joe, hi
Yes.
Joe. So your show, Relative Dimension. Tell people who might not be familiar with it. What is Relative Dimension? I know it's an actual play, but you do some other stuff too, right?
It is an actual play. Besides that, I run a website where I have a movie resource list. I have a going list of the podcasts that are Shadowrun related and a few that aren't.
Yes, you
I-
doing that had basically like stopped me from bothering to try.
Yeah. Well, I at one point I was doing Facebook a daily this year in Shadowrun or this day in Shadowrun, but it was so time consuming to
I did the
look
same
up
thing
everything.
I did the same thing on Twitter when I first started the YouTube stuff. I did a this day in Shadowrun history on Twitter, and it got
I'd
tiring.
end up going to work, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm 3 days behind. Man, what happened to my time?
Right.
My podcast started out as classic modules because I had inspiration from Hidden Grid, and most of my players had no Shadowrun experience. So I decided to start in the 50s and work my way up through the lore. But we are so far behind the recordings and the releases. I think my latest release of our classic now is from 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
So I decided that we were going to start a new one so I could stay current on the releases, and that is Vatican-sanctioned Shadowrunners hunting artifacts and religious relics.
That is really exciting. Do they work for the
And-
Pope?
Yes, indirectly, but yes, they have
Well-
a go-between.
No.
I think I feel like the Pope's got to be in there somewhere.
He will probably make an appearance. As to whether or not anybody recognizes him at first, because he's probably going to be in disguise when it happens.
Monsignor Johnson.
He's been a street samurai all along. He's just been slumming it as a Shadowrunner.
Yeah.
Or babysitting the team.
We just started. We are on Christmas break. Our next session should be in a week or two. Will be our third session in. They are currently in the Ukraine because some bodily remains of Saint Joseph has disappeared from a church, and they are sent to recover him.
Wow. Awesome. In the chat room, Ninja Leora asks, and I'm actually not sure what he's referring to, and I'm wondering if it has to do with you, Joe. He says more null sect in the future.
That's a Dark Terrors.
Oh
that I
yeah,
don't
I didn't
know.
read that section. I didn't read that section of the Foundation.
I had a hand in that. I had a hand in cleaning up some, like another writer wrote something and then had to bail out, so I wrote some null sec stuff just to kind of clean up his idea. But yeah, I mean, anything introduced in Dark Terrors, you can bet you'll see again.
Cool. Sorry to interrupt you, Joe. Continue on. Vatican stuff is happening.
Yep. Besides that, I do try to stream Monday nights. Lately, we've been competing with Join the Anarchy, but it's there. People can hop in and suggest places to go, things to see, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. What time do you go, and how long do you stream for?
We usually start at around 8 p.m. Eastern and go till 11 to midnight-ish. One of our players is in Florida, and he teaches with the kids, so he has to be up early, so he sets our end time usually.
Sure, yeah. I can relate. But cool. So we keep skirting around predictions for next year. We talked a lot about what happened this year, and we are talking about what's going on with our shows this year as periodically throughout the thing. But with Shadowrun in general, what's coming in 2018? What do we know about? First, we know Street Lethal's coming, but we have everybody keeps talking about it, and we've got the man himself, Better Than Bad, the Hooding book is going to be coming in next year.
Yeah.
How excited are you about that, Opti?
My excitement is unmitigated. That is like the first thing that I had to have one conversation with Jason Hardy. We were on our way. First time I ever met him at Origins like 3 years ago, and or actually I guess it was like right after I became a freelancer, and I was on my way up to the freelancers meeting at Origins at Gen Con, because they have little meetings like that, and I cornered him in an elevator. I said, we need a Hooding or a neo-anarchist book, like, and I'll do anything, just tell me what I need to do and I need to make this happen. And I just wouldn't let it go. And he's like, okay, how about this? So like we kind of made like a little unholy pact in an elevator, and 3 years later, like we're getting this book, so I'm pretty effing excited about it. So yeah, it's better than bad. It's all about Hooding and like the good guy side of being a Shadowrunner, if there is such a thing like good guy, in this world. But I guess better than bad is the way we.
Yeah, I was recently talking to Brooke Chang about that book on the Six World podcast. Brooke. Yeah, Brooke is great. Awesome. We had a lot of fun talking to her, and she got me really excited about some of the about that book, kind of addressing some of those deeper philosophical questions about why we Shadowrun and stuff like that. So I'm really excited.
Brooke and I have the lion's share of that book. We're like doing an awful big chunk of it.
Yeah, we got it. Me and Cassie have to get you. Yeah, me and Cassie got to get you and Brooke on the show to talk about that when it comes out.
I've never talked to Brooke in person. That'd be, well, I guess I still wouldn't have. I never had I have Facebook conversations with Brooke like every day, but I've never actually talked with her in person.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying in person. What I mean is I've never talked to her. Period. Facebook messages.
Right. We're also getting supposed to be getting a Matrix book, advanced Matrix book next year.
Yep, that should please a lot of people.
I've been hearing that for years.
We're still gonna, yeah. Well, I never say things that are coming unless they're coming.
Yeah, Jason Hardy did say on our show, he's the one who told me that it's coming next year. So I think that's about as good as you can expect to get of a definite kind of. This is happening.
And yeah, you're going to get Street Lethal 2. You're going to get Chicago Chaos, which is the second Anarchy book.
Yes.
It's got a whole bunch of different missions and new Shadow Amps and all sorts of cool new stuff for Anarchy, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I have to stop. Although I would say that if you like neo-anarchist stuff, then 2018 is going to be even bigger for you than just Better Than Bad.
Yeah, but the neo. Let's talk about the Anarchy thing for a second. That's not a small thing to glaze. Like we were told just at the end of this year, Jason Hardy talked to us and said, "Hey, no, guys, we saw how excited you guys were about Anarchy." I'm looking at you, Oz. We saw how excited you guys were about Anarchy, and we've heard it. And we're gonna make more stuff, and that was a big deal because when it came out, they straight up said, "No, this is just a one-time thing. We're not gonna do it. Like, we're not gonna continue to develop this. Here, we want you to enjoy it. Here, enjoy it." But it was so well received, I guess, that they 180'd on that and said, "Nope, we're gonna do more of it." And so that's a good segue to Oz. Oz, you do a show on Twitch every other week called Join the Anarchy. And tell us about that.
Okay, so for the uninitiated, we're an interactive, completely improvised Shadowrun Anarchy. So we use the Shadowrun Anarchy system, which is the more narrative plot point system that just came out last year, and we started the campaign, and we have we run it live on Twitch, and anybody in chat starts throwing out ideas, and if we like the ideas, we get rewarded with the plot points, which is like the narrative economy in the game that helps us do more ridiculous things, and we just build the story. I come to the table with nothing planned, and it's worked out somehow.
You know what's impressed me the most, Oz, is that not only has it worked out, and I've said before to you and to other people that I do not envy you as a GM having to on the fly take not just ideas that pop up in your head, but take ideas that people are just throwing at you and having to incorporate them. But not only has it worked out, but you've managed to, you and your cast, we've got to give them a lot of credit. You guys have managed to not just have like not only silly one-offs every time, and they are silly and fun, but you've managed to weave a very like emotional and complex plot and characters and interpersonal relationships and everything.
Made people cry.
Yeah, that one episode. Yeah, no, and it's, the secret is always, you just listen to it and you listen for the plot holes, and then you're like, I need to figure out how to justify this later.
Right.
But yeah, that's it's been fun. We've had, most of you have been on the show already as guests, so yeah, and yeah, so we just finished our first season. We wrapped up that plot, and now we're just gonna start completely fresh in 2018. New set of characters, same cast. So it's kind of like American Horror Story or like those anthology kind of series. So yeah, and I'm excited to see what the next campaign's going to be about, because I have no idea. It's all in chat's hands.
Right.
Yeah, and also, but before we start campaign 2, which so here's the other thing. One thing I want to say is, if you want to join, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that sounds like a cool show, but I don't want to listen to Join the Anarchy Season 1, you don't have to. It's okay. We're just going to start completely fresh. Just hop into Season 2. I'm doing like a full rebrand of our logos and like everything. And I just want to start completely new. And yeah, let's see how that goes. And before we do that, though, so that's going to start in March. And then before that, we're going to be doing a 4-episode short arc set in the Sealy Court, which I will not be GMing. I'm handing those reins over to Scrim, who's one of our players, and because I know that she's fantastic at fantasy and court intrigue. They played, she's GM'd Pathfinder for me before, and it was probably one of the best sessions I've ever played in, or best arcs. So I'm excited to see what she does with the Court of Shadows metaplot, which I don't think has really ever been showcased on any actual playbook. And it's so important to the meta plot these days, it seems, with every release that comes out, that let's give it some airtime, right?
Right. That's going to be really cool. I'm excited I'm excited for you for that. Pretty cool. Let's I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk about their shows. Mr. Johnson, as if you need. I feel like everybody knows who Mr. Johnson is, but tell us, some people might not. So tell us about your show, the Arcology Podcast.
You're muted.
First, you're going to want to unmute your microphone.
Yes, I turned the mic down so when I got it to go.
That's right. That was a responsible thing to do.
So, I've been podcasting about Shadowrun for a while. I guess a little over 4 years. We have episodes where we talk about Shadowrun, and more frequent and irregular episodes where we have an actual play release that's been pretty popular. We podcast about Shadowrun and do stuff on Twitch now with the Shadowcasters Network. It's been lots of fun.
Yeah. Everybody, you've been around. Have you and Opti, I think, among all of us, are competing for, of us here, who have been around the longest. Have you been around longer than the Neo-Anarchists?
Opti came out before any of our episodes did, by I think a couple of months or so.
So tell us, Opti, about the Neo-Anarchist podcast. Tell us, who is Opti and what is the Neo-Anarchist podcast?
Neo Anarchist podcast is a in-character retelling or information dump on the history of the Sixth World, and it is told by Opti, the neo-anarchist, crazy raven shaman, who just yells a lot and assumes that you're, caring about what he has to say. So yeah, we're up to 2073 now. In the middle, we have 2 episodes, and I have a script for the next one coming up. And then every once in a while, he'll stop and break into song and sing songs about the Sixth World. That's pretty much what we're doing.
Tell stories about the past and sing songs.
Yeah. It's working out.
It's real folksy. I like it.
I will say this: my entire trajectory for doing the podcast was I want to influence the world. I want to get in and be a part of this world. And I thought it would just stop at the podcast. And I thought, 10 years from now, people will look back and go hey, remember that Opti guy who did that thing? Wasn't that really cool? And instead, I just kept leveraging it up, and then now I'm getting to write the stuff. And so now I don't think, anyway.
How cool is that?
Less time doing the podcast. It's cool, except for when it's not because I spend a lot of my time writing now, and the podcast, when I get them out, anyway.
I will say
I
that
spend so much time telling people how sucky I am at podcasting now because
here's
I'm
the
writing Shadowrun. But all the stuff that I wanted to do, the return of Black Star and the increased focus on hooding, that's all stuff that I told myself that I wanted to do, and it's
right. You're doing
pretty much
important things.
I think so.
I want to say it's super cool that you are getting the chance to influence the world in the ways that you want, but it's also pretty amazing that anytime anyone posts on a Facebook or Twitter or something hey, how do I get into Shadowrun with all this lore and stuff? It's not just me that says, well, the best resource ever is the Neo Anarchist podcast.
Yeah. I have to go.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time too.
I see that online. I'm I'll be in my phone because it just gets me every time.
Yeah.
One of the great things that you're
and
doing.
I would add the intro of the Anarchy rulebook has a really concise setting intro, but yes.
Yeah.
That's the best written, and then the best ever is the Neo Anarchist podcast.
Well, one of the great things that you've done with the Neo Anarchist podcast is that it's history, right? So it's kind of timeless, and it can continue to be a resource for people, no matter new to Shadowrun or not. So that's really great. You've done a public service.
I lived as a service.
Thank you. But you don't just do stuff with the Neo Anarchist podcast. You're also involved with another podcast of which we don't have. You're here to sort of represent it, and it's kind of not. Anyway, the Hidden Grid.
Yeah, we should talk about the Hidden Grid. So the Hidden Grid was actually around before the Neo Anarchist podcast. It was around before the Arcology. It was around even before Critical Glitch. Yeah, and so it was kind of the first dedicated Shadowrun podcast, and that was back when Derek Zended was doing it. And then season 2 came around, and Justin or Null Operations took over, and that was kind of the classic era where they were doing the actual play before anybody was doing actual play. They were doing actual plays,
right?
Which I thought was really great. And then they stopped, mostly because of time management issues. Not time management, that made it sound crappy. Just because of time issues.
Right.
And then both Derek and Justin said, hey, we want to play. Opti, would you, run this as a GM? And I was hell yeah. So these guys, part of some of the reasons I got into podcasting. So I was yeah, let me do that. So we did that. We had a great time. Gardemanger, who's in the chat, played with us. And basically one of our family on the Hidden Grid ended up having surgery and was just out for a very long time. And during which time, and Jules, I don't know if Jules is in the chat too, but Rainbow Smite, Jules Watts, she was playing with us too on the Hidden Grid, that actual play game. So anyway, we got to be really good friends and family in that way. But when Justin ended up having eye surgery and he was out for a long time, Zen and Jules went off and started doing their own podcasts, and they're doing great at them, by the way. They're not necessarily Shadowrun podcasts, but they're general gaming and pretty awesome. Seize the GM is one that they do, and I can't remember when Jules is off the top of my head. Somebody's going to remind me.
6 degrees off normal or something like that?
Yes, 6 degrees off normal. I think that's right.
I was going to say
5 degrees
Legends
off
of Earth Dawn, maybe.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about that too. We should talk
Of
about
course,
that
she
too.
has.
Anyway,
I haven't actually released any of those with her in it yet. No, I think I have. Never mind. Sorry, go on.
so 5 degrees off normal. That's it. Thank you, Carl.
Sorry, gave her one extra
So
degree.
essentially, what's happening now is that we've been on hiatus for so long that I finally sat down with the other guys and I was like, hey, what's the deal? Like, where are we going with this? Because what we were doing is going through all of the old classic adventures. You know what I mean? Like the first edition classic adventures. We were set in the 2050s, and Opti was actually just about to hop in as an actual character. And so I was gonna be able to play Opti as a PC in a 2050s game, which I thought was just freaking awesome. But it doesn't look like the Hidden Grid is going to be back in that form anytime soon. And so I guess I'll just take this time to announce something special for the next year, and that is Opti and Garde-Manger, along with another 3 or 4 people in a cast, are going to be starting a new podcast sometime next year, early next year, hopefully. And I think our GM is going to be. Do you want to do it, Mr. Johnson, or do you want me?
I think you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just did.
Yeah. So Mr. Johnson, Cliff is going to be our GM. Is going to be our GM for that. Except I say that, except he's going to be what we're calling our default GM, because we're actually going to be bringing in other GMs to run those first edition games that that they really care about. So, for example, Rusty Zimmerman has told us that he's going to come in and run Dragon Hunt and Elven Fire for us. And so that's going to be super fun. And I'm trying to get Bull to come in. He promised me a long time ago that he was going to run a Universal Brotherhood run for us. So it's going to be pretty awesome. So yeah, that's what we're thinking about. We're going to take what we were going to do on the Hidden Grid and move that energy into something else.
Right.
So
don't.
yeah.
So don't.
New
Don't.
Yeah,
announcement.
Opti sent me this message that was like, "Hey, I need someone to GM this new podcast thing that I'm doing. Here's the idea."
I didn't ask Mr. Johnson. I said, "Hey, do you know of anybody?"
Right.
I do, but me maybe.
Right. So
But he's kind of busy.
don't step over what should be the lead here, which is that the whole conceit of this thing is that you're running through all the old adventures, right?
Right, which is that's why it kind of ties in, because it's a little bit in character, because Opti's going to be there, and it's those old adventures which, while they're sometimes mentioned on the Neo Anarchist podcast, I mean, you really never get the sense for them, until you've kind of listened in or played through them. So yeah, we're gonna be doing all the old adventures. So if you ever wondered like what the Universal Brotherhood was all about, or what Bottle Demon was all about, or that kind of stuff. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because I think it's going to be a really fun a way to connect with those stories. That there's a lot of lore in those old adventures.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I'm really happy to hear that. We saved the best for last, and that's the Sixth World. No, I'm just kidding. The Violent Life. Damien, we lots of people. You've been around doing stuff with the Violent Life podcast for a long time with Vendetta Violent and everything, and do tell us a little bit about that stuff. But I want to hear you've been doing some really amazing stuff this year with an actual play. You jumped into an actual play for the first time this year.
Yeah. We started originally off just doing kind of like 5-minute audio drama blogs from the point of view of a rock star / Shadowrunner, and and did a few informationals and that kind of thing. And while we were trying to find our identity, over the last year, I believe in April, we started Tales from the Stuffer Shack, which was kind of an ambitious but yet irreverent a game where it was essentially the life of two clerks in a stuffer shack.
One of them being here on the show, Oz, and also my co-host on Six World Podcast, Cassie Levitt.
Pretty much, and they're just trying to make their way through life as employees of the Stuffer Shack, and it's been a hell of a lot of fun, and we plan on still taking it to some very interesting places. This was supposed to be Stuffer Shack Day, so I'm doing this instead of releasing that show.
Well, thank you.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, like, that has been amazing, and I'm really glad that people seem to really dig it.
They really do, yeah.
But also, we were able to finish off the first season of Redmond Born this year, and that was a hell of a great thing it felt really good to be able to do, and start coming in. I think I've got it slated for February. Season 2 of Redmond Born will be coming, and it's going to kind of, I haven't said anything about it until this point, right now. It's going to be essentially a year after Redmond Born ended, and it'll still be following Samara and the Hidden, and kind of taking things up 10 steps from where it was before.
Redmond Born, for those who don't know, it's an audio drama, right?
Yeah, it's a audio drama. They drop in just about 15-minute, fully casted, essentially stories.
Professionally voice acted.
Yeah, professionally voice acted, and narrated by me, unfortunately. But yeah, they're pretty much what kind of my pride and joy about what I do right now. As I've loved telling the story, and it's been a hell of a trip.
I got to voice act in one. I'm no professional, but I got to do an early on episode of character, and there's fun.
Yeah, the first episode actually.
Was it the first one? I had fun doing that. So that's really exciting. Tales from the Stuffer Shack. I love the idea of that show. It's just like, not only are you guys are using Anarchy, right?
Yes.
Not only do I love that because it kind of lets you be able to focus on the story, but I love the idea. I loved it as soon as you told me about it, Damien, before you actually did it. I love the idea of just telling a story not from Shadowrunner's perspective, but like these people. It's almost like it's almost like a sitcom, right? It's a situational kind of, like, you're in this one place all the time, and just like let's look at what happens to these people as these crazy characters come in and out of this Stuffer Shack. Like, as you know, like, you just imagine how Shadowrunners just will bust into Stuffer Shacks and do crazy things, and you want to tell the story from the perspective of those clerks that are in the Stuffer Shack and what kind of crap that they have to go through all the time. I love the concept, and it's been a blast.
As the other side of the counter in Food Fight.
Right.
Yes.
There are real people behind the counter, okay?
I'm going to clean that mess up.
That really is the perfect pitch, right? It's let's tell the story from the other side of the counter, from the food fighting counter that everybody's familiar with, right? So.
Yeah, hell, that's what we kind of led into the series with. So
yeah.
So, what is the best cleaner to use to clean up a pink fizzy meat product?
You can never get that out.
Yeah, and you don't want to ask this guy anyway, because Augustus never cleans a damn thing. So
no, I always put someone else up to it.
Right.
I manage.
It's the foamy blue cleaning product.
The foaming blue cleaning product. Got it.
Yeah. Because blue is better for cleaning.
Yeah.
Noted. I'll pass that along to my associate, who I delegate to.
Right. I know Cassie loves it too. She talks about it all the time. Cassie loves being on that show. Do you guys? For a while, I know you were having guest people play. Do you still do that?
Occasionally, we have a guest come through. Pretty much every fourth or fifth episode, we end up bringing somebody in, which which is fun. And I do want to have somebody in from Crit Squad.
Oh, really? Oh, God,
Somebody.
that would be amazing. What a great idea.
I know. I heard you get something. I heard you get something caught in your throat over there, Chris.
Yeah, no, I had some popcorn earlier, and it's just like sticking, you know?
Funny thing about the show is that I originally was very reluctant to do it. I kind of doubted GMing. I didn't know if another actual play would kind of really be welcome on the scene, but I'm really glad that I have, because my players just blow me away every single session. So.
I actually asked to be on Tales from the Stuffer Shack, but I think Oz and Damien both refused to let me because I'm so no, because I'm so busy all the time. You guys were like, I don't think it's a good idea for you.
I'm pretty sure I exactly said that. I was like, no, I don't think so.
Right.
It's a friendship refusal.
Right.
You don't want to do that to yourself.
This is a Shadowrun intervention. We need to have some of those on Cliff, I think.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm hearing that you're going to be GMing a new actual play, Cliff, and I'm like, or Mr. Johnson, I'm like, I don't know if Shadowrun Missions Online, our venue, can handle you putting something else on your plate. Because how much stuff do you do, Mr. Johnson, right now? You have the Patreon campaign.
Well, yeah, we've got the Black Star game is the one that we're recording now. We concluded the Pirates one, which I have to still get the episode out this month for.
Sure.
And I'll probably crank out those at a little bit faster pace for our patrons, maybe a couple a month going forward, because there's so much cool stuff happening in the story, and I've got a lot to go through there. But yeah, I do the Black Star campaign, that I run a couple of campaigns once per month sessions for some patrons, which have been a lot of fun. Empress Erica's got a Twitch channel here, and she actually hosts posts up or streams is the word I'm looking for. Streams the one that we play on Friday nights once per month. So if you were to check that out, we actually host that on our channel here. We started doing that, so that's been neat. So it's been a lot of fun kind of doing some campaigns with some of our patrons, and we've done some neat ideas with that. It's been sort of a fun Shadowrun playground. One of the teams is in Vladivostok. I've been doing some stuff exploring that area and tweaking things with the world a little bit here and there. Like I've got Wuxing starting its own public security company called the Ruishi. And getting the security contract for Vladivostok, so that's been fun. And the other group's been in Seattle, and I've been entangling them with some of Opti's subplots a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I love you for doing that, by the way.
I also have dipped my toes into writing for Shadowrun, I guess.
Yes, that's right.
I've agreed to write a novella that I have to turn in at a certain time. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about because I'm under contract and NDA and stuff, but I'm writing a novella for Shadowrun, and hopefully it will be published.
Yeah.
They've agreed to give me money for it, so...
Suckers!
That's pretty weird and cool. I've never really done any published writing before, but John Helfers, who's the main editor for the Shadowrun fiction stuff, he mistook me for a Shadowrun freelancer because I'm always hanging around them. And 2 years in a row bothered me to submit a proposal to write a novella, and I finally took him up on it. He really loved it.
You think he's kidding, but I swear to God, the story is true.
I asked him, like 2 years in a row, he's been bugging me, send me your novella proposals. I'm like, I don't know if I have time. He's like, no, just do it, man. I'm like, I finally came up to him the day after the day after he said it again, and I went to him like, so why do you keep asking me to submit a novella proposal? Because I've never written anything professionally. You've never seen anything I've done. He's like, aren't you a freelancer? Aren't you one of the freelancers? Like, no. Like, I do have an idea for one. I told him my idea, and he jumped up and down and gave me a hug and said, all right, you got to do that, and if it turns out well, you have to write a novel. So...
Rusty Zimmer and I are coming out of the freelancer meeting at Gen Con, and the Cliff's in the lobby. We're like, hey, Cliffs, we start talking, and then we start walking because we're going to go grab a beer or whatever. And like around the corner comes drunk John Helfers. It's like, hey, you guys, what are you going to write? What are you going to write me a novella, guys? I have novellas come,
Rachel's like, you've been sitting on mine for 2 years.
And Rusty's like, hey, I got a novella right here. You want it? It's in my pocket. And like, and I'm like, well, hey man, I wouldn't mind writing a novella. And John's like, yeah, fine, whatever, do it. And then he's like, Cliff, when are you gonna write me a novella? And Cliff's like, what? Really? You want? He's like, okay. And then the next day, Cliff's like, were you serious? And John's like, yeah, write me a novella, Cliff.
Rusty's like, no, I have one.
Rusty's like, I have 4 novels right here. I have 4 novels in my pocket for you right now. Please. Kincaid wants to be told.
Making enemies, Mr. Johnson.
Oh man.
It was the best thing ever. It was great.
I love it.
That impression of Rusty is very, it's like uncanny.
Yeah.
I talked to Rusty way too damn. In fact, whenever Rusty can't be a guest on some of our shows, sometimes I actually just go on and pretend to be Rusty. Yeah, Opti, he's the best guy ever. I love Opti.
That's awesome. So
Good lover.
about 20. So what kind of predictions do we have about the next year? Hopes, dreams about Shadowrun in the next year. Is anybody anticipating a 6th edition?
No.
Silence.
Silence.
I hope not, because I have barely gotten my head around 5th edition, and it would just be hard.
Oh yeah, didn't you tell us? I don't know if we'd gone live yet, but didn't you tell us, Chris, that you're about to start GMing your own home game?
Yeah. It's been demanded. I don't think I have a choice. But yeah, like I've read the core manual, and I finally feel like I'm ready. And 6th edition, maybe that would be cool, but I'd have to start all over again.
Wouldn't that be great? All right, guys. Sitting down for session 1. Oh, hey, before we start, did you hear that 6th edition's coming out? No.
Released like a week after the Advanced Matrix book.
Yeah. That's the thing with Shadowrun. Like it's so hard to learn this game. Other games, I feel like people are excited about a new edition, but this one you're just like, oh my god, start studying again, and it's like starting a new semester in school. And
There you go, Chris. Apparently, you should stream it.
Oh God.
So says Chad.
That's not the first time Chad has said that. I don't think I'm friends with Chad anymore. Chad and I are taking a break.
Yeah.
I don't want to step on your toes, Bobby, but like this is the second time this has come up, and I'm curious, like, because I'm new to Shadowrun, like what has the nature of the game been like over the years? Like, so this is not just 2017 retrospective, I guess, but like what changes from edition to edition?
Usually,
it's been gradually getting less deadly and more crazy, awesome hero stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Early editions, it was very deadly and more complicated. So if I had the quick, Mr. Johnson said it very, very succinctly. But if the one thing I'd add, I guess, is that it's been getting easier. Believe it or not, the rules.
Really, because it's still. I feel like I'm about to die every single time we play.
Conceptually, it was easier in the early editions. Like the mechanics weren't necessarily easier, but conceptually it was a little bit easier. Like now, conceptually, it's not. Like there's some problems with the way that things are presented that are not clear.
I can agree with
you. When you say you feel like you're about to die, is that just from the Crit Squad perspective? Because I feel everybody's about to die at any given moment there.
Oh. I mean, it's partly that, because like the Crit Squad game is only the second game in Shadowrun I've ever played, but it's the nature of like, and I like it, the narrative functions of the game mechanics where like it's easier to get knocked out than it is to be killed, but then once you're knocked out, someone can just walk up and like put something sharp in your squishy bits. Right. Like
I do want to say,
I think that's really cool. So it feels deadly to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get knocked down and all, but yeah, there's always the edge burning thing, and that wasn't something I remembered much before. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I guess really picked up on from 5th edition from previous experience, and I'm kind of skipping from 3rd because I'd never really played 4th, is that 5th does seem to try to integrate things mechanics-wise. You see that with the Decker versus Technomancer stuff, and how the Technomancer stuff kind of mimics a lot of the Magic rules, and the way a lot of the Magic rules have been kind of condensed into a more streamlined, straightforward. I mean, mages and shamans, there's basically no difference now unless you're using some optional rules, except for the Drain stat in the Spirits they can summon, like 1 or 2 are different, I think. Whereas I remember 3rd edition mages and shamans were huge different. Yes, we'll be at Gen Con, Jen.
I remember also
Cool.
the Matrix in particular has gone through like the most iterations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah, 'cause
changes
it used
every
to be-
time in a big way.
It used to be analog. Well, not analog, but like you used to have to like find a port and jack in, and now it's wireless, right?
right.
Like,
It used to be a
that's one of
dungeon
the-
crawl with a map and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
now
Wow.
it's more integrated into the experience of what everyone else is dealing with. You can hack the stuff that's around you, and the cameras as you're walking up, and the guns that people are pointing at you, and things like that.
Yeah, it definitely feels a
So-
lot better. Matrix is huge improvements in the. That's
Yeah,
your.
I still feel like it's, there's ways it could be maybe made a little bit easier and streamlined in certain ways, but
Anarchy.
I was going to say, I feel that I've been reading Oz's
Sorry.
mind through
Yeah.
this entire thing.
well, I don't.
You
I
can
really
see it
don't
on
feel,
my
now.
face right now. It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
see, I don't feel Anarchy's a replacement for Shadowrun. I just feel like it's a different way to play it that still has the feel. I like the fact that both exist, and I love both of the games. I don't feel like one or the other is like the thing that fully satisfies.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they each do in their own way, but
Well, it's a
I don't
different
wanna be rid
system.
of
It's a
either.
completely different system altogether. So
Yeah.
Well-
it's still SR5 light with some.
I-
it's more deadly.
we could
than
fight
SR5.
about that. I don't think
It
it's.
is.
Yeah, let's not do that. It's not.
I think it's a different system altogether. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's. I guess I didn't tell anybody what I do.
Nope.
Just some
Yeah.
YouTube videos that explain,
Yeah,
the
so
entire concept of Shadowrun to
I do
people.
some YouTube stuff. For a while now I've been doing on YouTube. Primarily what I do on YouTube is this series. My YouTube channel is called Complex Action. YouTube.com/Complex Action. You can
That's a mouthful.
yeah, the primary thing I do on there is these little like 3 to 5 minute videos called GM Screen. And the conceit there is that I take a very usually difficult to understand or a difficult to research or a very esoteric rule and try to explain it in 3 to 5 minutes with stick figure drawings to make it as simple and non-threatening as possible for people. Actually, Mr. Johnson here writes my scripts for me. Cassie's written
Yeah,
some
I've
too.
written a lot of them.
But I started writing all of them, and then I ran out of time because I had another child, and so I said, "Please write my
Yeah,
scripts." for
I
me."
guess novella thing going outside. I'm already a published Shadowrun author because
Yeah.
GM Screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
His name's in the credits. There's some other things I do on YouTube on that same channel but that's primarily what I do. I also have the Sixth World podcast, which is similar in feel to what we're doing right now, actually. But it's we just have me and Cassie Levitt have a different topic every other week, and we invite on somebody to help talk to us. Usually it's some kind of Shadowrun freelancer or somebody involved with Shadowrun, but not always. Sometimes we have other people on, and we just talk about Shadowrun and different topics. That's been a lot of fun, huge amount of fun. I've learned a lot about Shadowrun just having to research those topics. We have fun with that. It's always on Twitch here. This past year, I had the Complex Action Actual Play, which a couple people here were even on. Mr. Johnson and Damien were both a part of that.
It's over.
And it's over now. We finished up that whole story. I know a lot of people ask me, when am I doing more actual play stuff? And I will be. I haven't figured out exactly what it will be, but it will be coming. GM Screen is. I'm doing an interesting thing. I guess I could, in a more public way, I've told patrons and everything what's happening. But GM Screen is going to be doing something really cool and interesting in this next year. I'm starting in January. It's kind of like a mix of patron thing as well as the general public will be able to do it. or at least watch. I'm going to start on a 2-month cycle. One GM Screen episode that comes out every 2 months is going to be a collaborative effort between me and patrons. So I thought it would be really cool to involve people in the process. I have a whole process that I use, and I thought, why don't I get with my patrons and present them with a list of topics, and we all agree on a topic. Everybody votes, and once I've decided on this topic, I'll get patrons of a certain level to come and join me, and we will together write a script for this. They'll be notified about what the topic is ahead of time, and they'll be able to have time to re-up their knowledge on this topic and bring some research, and we'll get together and we'll hammer out and hash out a script for a topic. Then either in the same session or another meeting, depending on time, we'll actually storyboard and draw the episodes together. Patrons giving me ideas and feedback, and maybe this slide should look like this. Maybe let's do something cool and make it do this and stuff like that. And we'll all work on it together, and eventually it'll be published, and those people who helped me will get their names in the credits. The cool thing is that those meetings that we have to work on it together, I'm going to live stream those so that anybody can watch the process happening. So I'm really excited about that, to kind of like lift up the curtain and give people a behind the scenes look on how GM Screen is made, with like actual real episodes that you'll be able to, if you feel like it, sit down and watch the work being done, and then later on down the road see that episode actually be published on YouTube. So something I'm pretty excited about.
Do you intend to sleep at any point during all of that, or just?
Yes. when I had children, I kind of gave up on the idea of sleep. So
fair enough, but you have practice, so
yeah. I have slept before, if that's what you're asking. But no, yeah, it's I'm excited about all of it. I'm actually, believe it or not, Chris, I've actually cut back on stuff that I do. So
you're a machine, man.
The actual play isn't going on anymore. So, that was a big thing. Yeah, that's what I've been
Rob
doing.
there has a question for Chris.
Oh,
Yes?
sorry, I wasn't looking at chat because we broke up a few minutes ago.
Yeah, Chris, when is Crit Squad coming back? The last couple episodes had me crying in the truck with the feels, is what Rigger Rob said.
That's okay. So I can answer the question, but like I gotta say, that's not the first time that I've heard someone say that. And that's again, it's I don't know. Like Crit Squad is probably the first like storytelling thing that I've done that has like been put out in a way that other people listen to it. So I don't know. It's just really cool. Like I'm having trouble like not crying with the feels myself when people ask stuff like that. But like anyway, yeah, that's awesome that we made you cry. That's our goal. Because again, the tears of the listeners grease the wheels of production. But, end of January, beginning of February, we have a bunch of changes that are happening, like story-wise coming. And they're all good, I promise. Eric Snyder's coming back, which I'm really excited for. Especially because now I know what his new character is and sounds like, and it's that's just gonna be fun. But yeah, we're going to this time try to get ahead of things, so we're not like doing that 12 hours of work and then being like, sorry guys, it's gonna come out Saturday maybe. But yeah, so we're doing that. There's going to be some new artwork and some other stuff we're trying to get in place before we start airing new episodes. But give it a month. If you need to cry again, just listen to 14 milligrams, get his memory back one more time.
Right. Well, I think we're approaching unless people tell me something that we missed, I think we're approaching the end of our journey here. Does anybody have any final thoughts?
I had stuff that I wanted to bring up about the
Do it.
arcology that's going to be going on.
Do it.
Okay, so, well, first up, I've been doing this thing called Legends of Earth Dawn, which has been, I guess, kind of gradually ramping up all year. I'm planning on doing more releases with that, as well as, it's been now coming out with an actual play for Earth Dawn. Been releasing a new episode every 2 weeks. We've been focusing a lot on the Trevar group lately, but there's actually multiple different parties that are happening. And one of those groups actually has a lot of the voices you recognize if you're a fan of Shadowrun podcasts, such as Opties. We also have Rusty's Dulcet Tones, and the line developer for Earth Dawn is playing in that same group as well, Josh Harrison, who's a lot of fun to have at the table. And, of course, Rainbow Smite, or Jules Watts, as you'll remember. She's one of the cast members. Lots of people are involved. It's been a lot of fun to do, and we started with one big, long kind of a story arc that was, I guess, our pilot arc, which was dealing with this one particular care and all the different strange problems that occurred and the various things that happened when we realized that Earth Dawn kills characters quickly. So there'll certainly be more Legends of Earth Dawn going forward, and we've had some very unexpected violent deaths, and I think those have spurred on some very good further storytelling.
If you guys have not listened to the Legends of Earth Dawn podcast, I have so much damn fun with that. And me and Rusty have a great rapport going on, and it's just amazing. It's my most fun gaming thing that I do every 2 weeks, and I love it. And you guys would absolutely love it. I should probably stop.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we're definitely going forward with more of that. Going to be releasing more, and I guess we're releasing the actual plays every 2 weeks. We're going to start releasing one in between. Back to what we started with initially, something called metacasts, which are just like a brief discussion about some aspect of the Earth Dawn rules, or we might delve into setting more as well now. That I feel less worried about stepping on live from Barsabe's toes, because they haven't been releasing as much, unfortunately. I've been sad to see them slow down their releases, but I understand how it goes. Anyway, so that's been fun, but there's going to be some really big deal stuff happening in the actual play in episodes coming up. Major personal changes for some of the characters, horrible things happening to some of them as usual. We're also going to be looking forward, something I haven't done yet is delving into some, I guess, sideline type stories, maybe telling some stories about what happens with the blood wasps or some of the ghouls in the area or other things that are going on. And that's going to be a lot of fun.
That's cool. Looking forward to that.
I also am looking forward to doing more crossover type stuff. I've gotten Kevin Zarnicki to agree to appear as a guest player in the actual play, and I believe we will have him playing the character Red.
Oh, nice!
I'll give the chance to try to burn an edge or two off of him, and I will do my best.
Nice, that'll be fun.
Stake that, Fragger.
That'll be really fun.
And on the Twitch stuff, we're doing more of that. The GM's Workshop, I think, is something we haven't talked about much, where we just show up, Bobby and I, and we pick some topic and about GMing, mostly for Shadowrun so far, and we actually go through the guts of how we generate the stats or come up with the ideas. First one we did, we came up with a whole run idea start to finish. Second one, we designed a nasty nemesis, a Dryad Toxic Blood Mage.
Yeah. And the third one, we made
Johnson.
Santa's sleigh and the Barons.
Right? It got a little silly toward the end there, but that was lots of fun.
Yeah.
And much like, I guess, drawing inspiration from Join the Anarchy, we take a lot of suggestions from the people who show up in the chat. So.
Yeah, the whole point of the Game Master's Workshop, the GM's Workshop, is there's a lot of shows out there that give you tips and tricks and stuff about GMing, but it's hard to know what the actual work of prepping as a GM is unless you see it happening, and so we try to make it so you can see it happening. So we just do it.
We also share the document that we type in for any brainstorming type stuff that we do, as well as the Hero Lab files.
Yep.
I know we've had people ask us to output the PDFs, but I'm nervous about that being a copyright infringement. So,
right.
Unfortunately, it's just the Hero Lab files, which I think you can at least open with the demo, but I'm not sure.
Yep. So that's cool. We do a lot of stuff on Twitch now, so you should go to shadowcasters.network/schedule, and it'll show you anything that's coming up. We're working on the January schedule right now.
Rigger Rob, you will not be disappointed with the amount of ghoul involvement in the upcoming episodes.
Right.
I'm a big Frank fan too. He's my favorite random NPC that became important to the campaign.
Anybody else have any last minute kind of things they want people to know about, or things that we didn't talk about before we close? No?
Probably, but I can't think.
Okay, sorry, yes,
Right.
I'm going to tease the Urban Brawl thing again.
Urban Brawl.
Yep, I've had this idea to do competitive RPG sports on Twitch. I think I teased it at the our session at Gen Con, or seminar thing. And it is something I've been working on the rules for. We've done a test play for. I know Damien's got a cool kind of Car Wars type idea he wants to do as well. Kind of along those lines, we're definitely going to be looking into some more fun shows with that. So the Shadowrun Missions has taken a lot of my time and attention away from doing that, but as well as some other stuff. But it's definitely something I want to move forward with, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to be looking for people who want to play Urban Brawl. As if it's like a live sporting event on Twitch. So
that's going to be really interesting to see.
That's cool.
I've only been basically listening to your ideas and everything on the sideline behind the scenes, but it seems really interesting. So I'm excited.
It should be a lot of fun. I think I'm surprised how well Shadowrun Anarchy adapts to running Urban Brawl, because I've tried to run it before, just as part of in a campaign many years ago using. I think it was 3rd edition at the time, but even 5th edition now, it's got the same sort of attention to detail. It just doesn't work for running through something like that unless you abstract it in some way. But Anarchy is just perfect.
What is going on in chat right now?
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm closing out here, but what a good way to close out, because I wanted to say thank you to the chat, and there's this huge like cheer war going on in chat, people throwing bits all over the place, and I think Chummer Jim just destroyed everyone with 2,000 bits.
I see Schlaney there, who is my own personal hero.
Oh yes, absolutely. Let's see.
Wow,
man, everyone. Chummer Jim, Gen Tonic, lots of people are just there we
wow.
go.
Yeah, it's still going.
It's
Look
still
at that.
going.
That's awesome.
So
We have such a
Jim
very
I have heard
badge.
of Rusty's. He told me about that, but I have never actually read it or worked with it. It's certainly something I should certainly be reviewing as I work on my thing. So
Yeah. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming and listening. The chat room for listening, and those of you who are listening on the podcast at home, we love you guys too. Because there's probably say that again.
I'm just exhaling vocal sounds at the crazy amounts of bits flying by. Sorry.
Right. These guys.
Give it up to chat. I mean, we have.
Yeah.
Right?
I think since we started the Shadowcasters Network on Twitch, right, we've noticed like we have like this constant stream of like awesome people supporting everything that we've done since its inception. So Thank you so much to chat. And it's just they're still going. They're still donating. They're just like, here, have all this money.
Yeah,
Animals.
I guess one thing. Speaking of the community, one thing that we didn't mention is related to all of this is the Discord, which has been a great project and venture of ours all year long. We created the Shadowcasters Network Discord to just create a place for everyone who is a fan of all the Shadowrun content creation stuff. A place for everyone to come together and just geek out over it, and for us to interact with people and for them to talk about Shadowrun. And that's been hugely successful. I mean, that's how we've met people like Chris and Wolf with Deniable Assets over there. Like that's how we all got to be able to come together, and it's been really cool. And the community has been amazing in there, more than I could have anticipated. We were hoping it would be awesome, and it's better than we were hoping. So.
Yeah, way better. It's been.
Turns out you were correct.
It's a huge community.
Yeah.
How many people are we at now? Last count was what, 1250?
Something like that.
It's not a small number.
Yeah.
I've lost track, and it was always the dream to try to bring everybody together so that people didn't have to be running off to forums all over the place to communicate with people, and it's become that and so much more. So thank you guys for making it an awesome community with us.
Yeah, a couple more members, and we have 1,300. It's 1,293 right now. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
where are those extra 7 people? We need them right now.
Yeah.
We need them right now. We can close out 2017 with 1,300 people.
Right. But, thank you guys so much. We're really
Bobby,
looking
didn't we say we were going to take questions from the chat?
I've been taking them all along. If you see one, go ahead and tell me.
Is that what we've been doing? Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought there would be like a question and answer at the end.
No,
But
I've been taking them all along, and if anybody has a question, then throw it out there real fast before I turn this thing off. But
I know. Can we quickly discuss how we sort of, but not really, got a Shadowrun movie in Bright?
yeah,
Yes.
Oh yeah, we should say that.
we did.
Because that's kind of a
Yeah,
big deal
'cause
for
we're streaming
2017.
it later.
That's
We'll
true.
stream
Yeah.
While
Yeah, so me and if you're interested, so Bright happened. That's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. Neither has Mr. Johnson, because we're planning on with Opti, who cheated and saw it early. We're planning on having. I think Oz might be able to make it to this, but he's not sure yet.
No.
Yeah,
But I've held out. I haven't watched it either.
yeah, we're going to be having a in just a couple of days, actually, January 1st that night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're listening to this and you have time, come and join us, 9 p.m. Eastern time, probably for at least for the length of the show. We're going to do a live viewing party. We're going to actually, all press the play button at the same time, and we're going to have like a little timestamp indicator. So if anybody joins late, they can see where we are, and we're going to kind of watch it together.
Oh, fun.
comment on it as it's happening, and then for like 30 minutes to an hour afterwards, talk about what just happened. And
So if ever you've been like sitting there and been like, wow, I wish I could watch a movie with a bunch of fraggers that constantly talk through
Right.
the whole damn thing, you can tune in for this.
What
Opti's
this movie needs is more people talking.
right. Opti's gonna be
like. That's why I kind of want. That's kind of what I want to do. Like, I just want to hold up, like, while the movie's going. Like, this is my reaction, or this is my like little little smiley faces.
IRL smileys.
Yeah.
I'm
So
hoping.
everyone is aware of what I'm thinking.
I've watched Bright twice. I
Oh,
really
great.
Liked it. Yeah.
Awesome. Opti's going to be, I imagine, since he's already seen it, he's going to be the guy in there who's like, who's that person you watch a movie with where they're like, oh, you're going to like this part. This part's going to be
You're
really
gonna
good.
like this. This is gonna be your mate. Oh, I can't believe I was so sad at this part. Oh my god.
Do that thing where you're looking at everyone else to see what their reaction is.
Right.
Huh?
And that's exactly why I have not tried to put my name in that hat, because that would be me the entire movie. It's just, oh my god, guys, did you see that thing in the background?
Wait for
Right.
this. Wait for this.
Right. Jen Tonic asks, "Are we recording it for those who can't be there live?" Yes, we will. It's gonna be recorded, and at least it'll be on YouTube, sort of like riff track style, I guess, so you can play it along in your own viewing. So if you can't make it, don't worry, you'll be able to see it.
Are we supposed to make goofy noises and riff tracks the whole thing a lot?
No, we
But
have
if you
to.
play Dark Side of the Moon, like at a certain point, it'll line up.
It'll sync up.
Right. We haven't talked behind the scenes yet about what our tone is going to be, but I definitely would like to. It will be my first time watching it.
So
God, can you shut up for a second?
don't talk.
So are we
we
gonna
shouldn't
pause
say
it
how
and
that
talk
one person
along
does
the way,
that
or are
one
we
thing?
just gonna?
I don't think so. We talked about doing that like halfway through, but I think logistically it'll add an extra layer of complication because then everybody's going to have to start it again at the same time. And
Yeah.
so just take
So we'll
notes.
just save all of the big comments for the very end.
Yeah, take notes.
That just seems really boring then.
Well, you've already watched it once. It shouldn't be hard.
Well, what I'm saying is like why would I tune in to a bunch of people not saying anything?
We are going to make. We are
Gotta
going.
say things.
You are going to have commentary. So do not watch if you don't want to hear us talk about it.
Okay, so you should probably all go out and watch it first, and then come
Right.
back and watch it with us.
Right. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should watch it.
That's
No.
what I was thinking too.
I'm just not going to watch it until it's time to
Right.
stream it. So
I don't
you
have
guys will
time
get
to
my
watch it, so that's my excuse.
off-the-cuff responses interrupting your attempt to watch it as well.
Unbiased.
Right.
First impression.
My raw
absorb it.
experience. All right, we're over 2 hours now, so I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for
adventure
Thank you guys for joining us.
is
And,
what lies ahead. I'm sorry, I'll stop now.
and we thank you all for being here and talking to me, and I enjoy doing this every year. So and like I said earlier, it was really cool to see half of us here who are here for the first time. Oz, Wolf, Joe, Chris, good to have you.
Thank you for
Thanks
having us.
for letting
to be
me
here.
crash your party.
Yeah, and everybody, thank you for making all the cool stuff that you make.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, you
I
too.
could have worked.
I hate you
could
all.
have handled a little bit more complex action. I think I wanted my cyber arm and my weapon focus spur.
Yeah, I mean, how long does it take one of those to make one of those? Really, just
Blood
2
magic
a week.
to
Come on.
infiltrate all the racist organizations for Humanis down there, and
Yeah. Well,
I had plans. Plans, damn it! Sorry.
all right, I'm leaving now. So thank you guys, and I'm turning off the stream. Bye. Say bye, everybody.
Night, Summers.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I stopped the stream. Oh, but wait.
Is it off?